This is the Canyon Aeroad CF SLX 9.0 that I actually get to ride here on GCN. You'll be forgiven for thinking that this is an aero road bike, given that it's called an air road, and just you can see by looking at it. But it's actually one of the first times I ever really got to spend all that much time on an aero road bike, so it's been absolutely fascinating riding it, not to mention quite enjoyable and really quite fast. One of the first things you notice when looking at this bike from the front is just how narrow the cross-sectional profile is. Canyon call their tube shapes on this one particularly Trident 2.0. For most of us, it's probably better to describe it as a cam tail section tube, so that's like a truncated airfoil. And you can see that on the down tube, behind the seat post, all those major areas. Aside from being aerodynamic, there are a couple of other things about this frame set that I do really like. The first is that it's got direct mount brakes, and those are noticeably better than normal caliper brakes. And as a side effect, you actually get monster tyre clearance. So this bike has got huge 28C tyres on there, more on that later, but it does mean that there's still room to spare, which is so cool on a fast bike like this. Now, an integrated part of the bike is also Canyon's cockpit. They do call it a cockpit. You can see it's got an integrated bar and stem on there. And although I've actually got about 2 centimeters of spacers on there, which makes me look like it's been a long time since I retired, but actually the front end of this bike is really low. So even when I was racing, I think I'd have still had a good centimetre of spacers under there. This bike was not going to stop you getting into an aerodynamic position if you've got the flexibility. The frame set actually comes with all sorts of different group sets. Mine is the Shimano Dura 9000 mechanical group set, which works absolutely faultlessly. Interestingly, it's got a semi-compact chainset on there, and I actually really quite like smaller big rings at the moment. As well as not really running out of gears, it actually means that I can spend a bit more time further down the cassette, which kind of boosts my fragile ego. Otherwise, absolutely brilliant. Now, you'll notice as well that I'm not running Shimano pedals, I'm on the Garmin Vectors. We've been using these for a year now for loads of different GCN Does Science videos, and that's paired up with a Garmin Edge 1000 head unit as well. Now, we can't not talk about these wheels any longer. Let's face it, they're probably one of the most striking things about this bike. So they're Zipp's brand new 808 NSW wheels. So aside from being really deep, they're also incredibly wide. So Zipp were always famous for having those wider toroidal rims, and now they've gone even wider. I think it's like 26 millimeters wide at the fattest point. Now, I haven't got wind tunnel data at my fingertips, so I can't quantify exactly how fast they are, but I did have a very interesting day where I got to compare them directly with a set of shallow box section aluminium rims. And the results were pretty staggering. So on the shallow aluminium rims, the speed that I could hold for 20 minutes, just 20 minutes, I could then hold for 50 minutes when riding these wheels. The difference was that marked. Now, one of the other things that I've really been enjoying on these wheels is the fact that Zipp send them with a set of their new Tangente tyres. Now, rolling resistance is something that I hadn't really considered much when I was racing, and only recently it's been in my consciousness. And basically, Zipp said that these are some of the fastest tyres available. And again, I can't actually quantify it, but they do feel very fast indeed, despite the fact that they're 28 millimeters, or in fact, according to Zipp, because of the fact that they're 28 millimeters wide. So they're still really light, but they're very supple. They feel as close to tubulars as possible to get with a clincher, and it's like a magic carpet on this. It really is quite cool. Finishing things off is the Physique Arione saddle and the GCN water bottle as well, which no presenter bike would be complete without, as well as the Zipp wheel video. One of the other ones that you might have noticed this bike cropping up in was actually when I raced the Richmond World Circuit on Zwift. So as well as having this set up on my turbo trainer, I actually got to ride the Canyon Aeroad on the game, which was quite a nice tie-in, I think you'll agree. But aside from filming stuff on GCN, one of the main things I get to use this bike for, and it might sound a little bit, well, sacrilegious, but actually I get to commute from time to time on this bike. My cycling commute, as you'll have seen perhaps on an old GCN video, is about 40 minutes long. But on this bike, when I go flat out and do a threshold effort, I can actually get it down now to 32 minutes. So I'm particularly pleased that that's an extra 8 minutes I get in bed or get home early at the end of the day. The question is, how much now does this bike weigh? I actually haven't got a clue. Aero bikes do tend to come up a little bit heavier. I'm going to give it a helping hand by removing my Garmin and my water bottle. You ready? 7.49 kilos. That's not bad actually, with power meter and deep section wheels. Given the fact that it's going to be significantly faster in a straight line as well, I'll take that. Well, that is my presenter bike. If you like it, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. And if you've got any questions for me about it, then do put them in the comment section down below. If you want to see some more pro bikes, or I say more pro bikes, actual pro bikes as opposed to ex-pro bikes, then all of our videos are up there in one handy playlist. Or if you want to see the video about those Zipp wheels compared to aluminium and box section wheels, you can get through to that one just down there. Otherwise, do make sure you subscribe to GCN. You can do that by clicking on me or my Canyon Aeroad. And remember, by doing that, you will see an awful lot more of this bike.